All right. I am now joined by several people. Philosophy professor Ryan Lake, Give Them a Revolution live show producer Jordan Dubin, Jacobin columnist Ryan Zickgraf, and in the middle, who are you?
Why, I'm David Burgis, your brother. Or am I Thomas? Who knows?
Don't be spilling your beans. Yeah, don't be spilling your beans. All right.
It's too soon for that.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Dave's first time on the show, though I've certainly done the show from his apartment before. So
yeah, hopefully it looks familiar,
Exactly. But we are talking about Robert Eggers' 2019 film, The Lighthouse. Which I actually didn't think it was 2019.
We have a bonus guest here somewhere there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My cat's a little jealous, apparently.
Fair enough. But yeah, I didn't realize it was 2019. In my head, it wasn't quite as long ago as that.
Mm-hmm.
It's COVID time. Did that to everyone.
It was in the before times.
The before
ancient
BC.
days.
It is a very COVID movie, though, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Serious isolation
Two
vibes.
people that spend way too much time inside together.
Yeah, I mean, that came out right before, and I remember thinking there are two types of lockdowns you get. If it's really good, it's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. If it's bad, you're going through a full Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, literally during COVID, people started listening to sea shanties. So there you go.
I certainly did a few jigs, drinking turpentine and kerosene and honey, of course.
Look, March 2020 was a weird time. We don't talk about it.
I don't know. That's March. That sounds more like May to me. March 2020 was the snow day, and May was the drinking turpentine and singing jigs. So I am actually curious. So I know Ryan Lake's answer to this question because he saw it with me in the theater. But had everybody else seen it before? When did you see it? I'm curious about all that. Jordan, you want to start?
I saw it when it came out, but at home, I believe. And I download things and pirate them. But I saw it then with subtitles because I was watching with a non-English speaker, and I've seen it again recently about 1.5 times, and then just decided to read the script to see what else was going on there. Pretty enlightening stuff.
Fair enough. Ryan Zickgraf?
Man, Jordan does way more homework than we do for this. It's great. I saw it actually during the height of COVID at home, and maybe that was part of the reason why I found it so unpleasant at the time. Was it felt a little bit like a crazy lockdown and everyone's going insane, and that's kind of how like being on Twitter at that time was. But yeah, I just watched it again on Friday. So
yeah, I just watched it for the second time today. I saw it the first time in the theater with Ben, and it hits very different after COVID. It's much more relatable.
Definitely.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, I saw it the first time, whenever that was, November 2019, and it was definitely one of those things too where there was like this too many good movies coming out that week. So it was like I watched Parasite and that, and I think Portrait of a Lady on Fire the same weekend. So I was like, it was okay. It was okay. And then COVID hit, and basically me and my wife spent the entire time just chanting, "Why'd you spill your beans?" to each other. and it became one of my absolute favorites, even though I watched it the one time, it got seared in my memory, and I watched it again this last weekend in preparation for it.
Yeah, I watched it again. Literally, I think I finished like 10 minutes ago. Bad time management, but it is very fresh in my head.
I was wondering, you got sort of this look like, this sort of spirit has left your body a little bit. You're still kind of processing.
Did you watch it 30 minutes ago or 2 weeks ago? Is it a figment of your imagination?
Entirely possible. Yeah, so this is, I'll do. I think let's do the pretentious thing and say I always think about the thing that Aristotle says, the Poetics, about the unities in time and space that make storytelling better. Which actually, I also just watched Banshees of Inisherin, which is also all set on an island. But this is all set in one place and over the course of God knows, one of those units of time, like the ones that Jordan was just reeling off. So it starts out. I guess this is in the 1890s. Looking at an online summary, that wasn't totally clear to me, but they might have said, remember. But Ephraim Winslow has just gotten a contract job for a lighthouse keeper, which is called a wiki, for a month on a small island under the supervision of the island's longtime keeper, Thomas Wake. And so he's coming in at the beginning of the movie. He seems to find, like, in the first like 30 seconds of the movie, he finds the Scrimshaw of the Mermaid.
Yeah. I had to look up Scrimshaw. Was fascinated to find that it's just whalebone, basically, something that sailors would make in their free time.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's like the
that was one of two things that you had to do, was either carve whalebone or masturbate furiously.
Sure.
And
really
apparently the one helped with the other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is pre-Pornhub. This is what we had to resort to. We have got it.
These are real traditional values right here.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't leave out maritime crochet, although I'm not sure how that figures necessarily into those other activities.
Yeah. I mean, you could crochet a mermaid too and utilize it.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel a little bit though like we find out super early in the movie that we're told that the previous wiki before him, Thomas's previous second, went insane and died.
He looked up Wikipedia to find that out, by the way.
Hey. I was going to do a WikiLeaks joke, but yeah.
Sorry.
Fair. Yeah, so which it's like the it's like The Shining or the Simpsons version of the Shining, where they're talking about why isn't it all the previous characters went insane and killed their families? I don't know.
This time it'll be different though.
Yeah. Could it be taking away all the beer and all the TV and everything? Like, well, if it happens again, I'll buy you a Coke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he immediately, Thomas is a huge hard ass, pretty much right away. Although also pretty much right away, immediately he is like very interested in getting Winslow to drink with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in the handbook, but what is in the handbook is doing whatever Tom Wake says.
That's right.
What are you going to do with that information?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Tom Waits?
Because
Actually, it would have been pretty cool for Tom Waits to be in this movie. It seems like a very Tom Waits time.
It has really high cheekbones written into the script, actually, so I'm not sure that he fulfills that.
Yeah.
Defoe certainly does.
Because if you think about it, like most movies, if you put Tom Waits in it, that changes everything so much. It doesn't matter what it is, massively changes. This is one of the only movies where you put Tom Waits in it, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah, he could have been the Screaming Mermaid. That would have also changed things.
He would have been great. He would have. Yes, that would have been great.
yeah, it would have been like, other than the bottom half, you know, could have just had him look exactly like he looked as playing Renfield in Dracula. And, been so he spends his time emptying chamber pots, painting the lighthouse, carrying heavy kerosene containers up and down the stairs. But the one thing that he's not actually allowed to do is the thing that you'd think would be kind of the core of the job, which would be actually having anything to do with what's going on up at the top with the lantern.
Yeah, that's not for him yet. He hasn't earned his dues quite yet, apparently. You get to do absolutely all of the grunt work, and then maybe sometime you can go and see the light, but not yet.
But
not at this
pouring kerosene in a lamp. That's you gotta pay your dues first.
No, you have to shovel as much coal as possible to make sure that light works, but not see the effects, except if you're peeping outside from the shadows, seeing your straight boss naked.
It's kind of like, I feel like it's a bit of a metaphor for what working at Twitter is like right now, where he's got these hardcore dudes that are like shoveling the shit, but only Elon can touch the light, which is like the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Deep.
Yeah.
This is what Twitter hardcore 2.0 means. He's like,
Exactly.
I think so.
That's right. Now I can see Elon giving a version of that speech he gives. Like, if I tell you to pull out every board one by one and clean it and reassemble the whole thing, like if I tell you to take every line of code out and suck on the nails,
Yeah.
No, when he was tweeting a couple hours ago, I actually thought he was talking like a pirate, something from this movie, but he was actually talking about Kanye. So he was saying "yay," I guess, instead of "ye."
Right.
Easy to get that confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I missed the Kanye tweets, but or the yay tweets.
It was something like, "Don't kill what ye love, save don't kill what
Something
you
like-
hate,
yeah,
save what
something
you
like
love."
that.
I don't know. Elon Musk is trying to be.
That does sound very piratey. Don't kill what you love.
I like it. So as Winslow observes every morning, Wake secretly ascends to the lighthouse and takes his clothes off in front of the light. So clearly, he's having some kind of really, really intense experience up at the lantern with the light. And and Winslow really wants to know what it is, but this is denied to him. Meanwhile, during his stay on the island, Winslow begins to hallucinate sea monsters and logs floating in the sea, and masturbates to the mermaid on the scrimshaw, and then we get the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner thing that he's fighting with the bird, and Thomas objects to him fighting with the bird because he might end up killing it, and killing a seabird is bad luck.
Can we say that was like one of the most gruesome animal deaths I've ever seen in a movie?
Oh God, it's yeah.
There was a lot. It went on forever, and I hate seagulls. I had one. I was told this was bad luck that I had a seagull shit on my head a few years ago, and somebody told me that was actually good luck, but I'm like, now I have seagull shit on my head. That seems bad.
I feel like seagulls are writing these rules. Like, it's bad luck to kill us. If we shit on you, it's good luck.
Yeah. So I'm not a big seagull fan, but just to see that scene with him just like boom, 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 I just like, okay, sorry, seagulls, give him a break.
Yeah, and like the initial scene where he tells him this is just like, I don't know. I mean, it's great. Like he's starting to he's starting to roll a cigarette, and he's like being very nonchalant in the conversation, and Thomas is like pissed off enough that he might not have gotten the point about how bad it would be to kill a seabird, that he like slaps the cigarette out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like his first big thing of lore. Like he's a big lore guy, and this was like his first like piece of lore of like, oh yeah, there's dead sailors in the Seagull. So we get a hint, get a taste of his jaunty spirit.
Yeah. So in so there is so that's the theory that the gulls are reincarnated sailors. That's why killing one would bring bad luck. Thomas is even though, I mean, it seems like he's been a lighthouse keeper for a while. I'm not sure exactly.
Who knows?
Well,
But-
we see like the other lighthouse keepers leaving the island as they're arriving. I suppose it's in shift work and everything, but they don't even regard him. They don't make him seem like he's the big boss or anything. He has any particular respect. But he's got it in his head that he is the man of that manor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a manager at a Subway or whatever. Like, okay, he's been there one extra week, so this is it.
It's
Man,
the
we
thing
went
is-
from
in the
Elon
script-
Musk and Twitter to Subway. That's quite
I
a
mean, a
difference.
chilling vision of what's going to happen to Twitter too at this rate.
Elon Musk is the chief sandwich artist at Twitter. No, in the script it says it doesn't have their names written for stage direction. It just has young and old. So I think it's basically just a play on his age. You know, he's come into this. He has all of the authority because he's the old guy. He's the dad, the father figure there.
By the way, I found the Elon Musk tweet, and he says, "Don't kill what ye hate, save what ye love."
Yeah, that's
And
very
ye-
far.
Leave Ye alone.
That's right.
Yeah, fair. I will parenthetically say I think there is something about the way that the Ye thing played out that seems really, really strange to me. Like okay, I understand. He's ridiculously famous and all of that. So it is going to be a little bit different. But like, I don't know, something about it. It's like, if you're passing by like a like mentally ill bag lady, well, she starts screaming at you that like the cabal of Jews runs everything, and they and the Jews put a microchip in her ass, and all this stuff. Like, are you like, is the move there to like stand there earnestly saying, well, I for one do not agree with this woman's anti-Semitism?
Okay, I have a theory that is kind of related to this movie. Kim Kardashian's ass is like the lighthouse, and Kanye saw it and he went insane from seeing it in its pure form.
Yeah.
Can't disprove it. So yeah.
You might be onto something there. Although clearly the lighthouse is supposed to be like a phallic symbol, and Kim's butt, not so much. Anima.
Yeah, that is the major problem with that theory. So
I'm still workshopping it.
You'll get there. It's going places.
I like it. Yeah. So in so one evening, while dining, Wake reveals to Winslow that his previous wiki died after losing his sanity. While Winslow spills his beans, reveals that, or no, this is before the bean spilling. He reveals that he's a former timberman from Maine seeking a new trade. This is really just him, beginning to open up the top of the tin of beans before he actually spills any of them. Does Thomas actually say, like, I remember that he says that the former wiki went insane, and he says that he dies, but does he ever actually quite say how he dies?
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't. I don't think he does. He just says that he believed that there was some sort of magic about the light, which he seems to like brush off, but clearly he feels the same way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's very intense about how nobody else is allowed to get near the light. He takes off his clothes in front of it. It's, there's a lot going on with with him and the light. So he clearly agrees with that. And it also seems like, I don't know, I mean, like he's when Winslow, let's continue to call him, is put in the same bed that has this weird mermaid scrimshaw in it, and he's we're told that the previous wiki was that's part of what he was like ranting about, his paranoia about curses and stuff that had something to do with the mermaid. So so I don't know. I mean, maybe Thomas put it there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it is cursed, you're saying?
Perhaps.
I mean, especially it's really, I don't know. I remember watching it the first time, and I kind of was expecting basically just the witch again, just this time around. And so during all this, I keep on being like, okay, so they're going to introduce the monster off the island at some point, right? They're going to show this thing, and it will come in. It's okay. These are all the steps. They're laying the careful groundwork. This insane sea monster is going to be real and come in, right? And no spoilers to the end of the movie, but yeah.
It's true. Eggers said in interviews that he wanted to leave viewers with more questions than answers with this film. Whereas with The Witch, like you said, it kind of starts pretty clearly showing you exactly what's going on, just questions of whether or not we're meant to really believe that that's the case. Here, who knows? A little gaslighting, a little sea monster.
I actually read that Pattinson said that he would only do it if it wasn't a monster, if it was just about two dudes going insane.
Really? That's interesting. I know that there was tension between the two of them on set because they took totally different approaches to acting, but it helps the tension of the film. We're not really sure who the narrator is, if it's, meant to be believable or not, whose eyes we're supposed to be seeing through, who you're supposed to believe. That's my favorite part about this film, honestly, just the mystery of the whole thing.
Totally.
Possibly two unreliable narrators.
Or are they the same person?
I'll get old.
A little Fight Club.
Yeah, it's the prequel to Fight Club, I think. 1890.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that would in the movie that would lend itself to that, but we can get there. Meanwhile, should say that when the day before Winslow is supposed to be leaving, the month is going to be up, and he's going to be relieved. He is trying to draw water from the operate the hand pump to get the well water, and should also say it is important that at this point in the movie he's not drinking at all. He's just drinking water. Thomas is trying to pretty hard to pressure him into doing this, and he really doesn't want to, which yeah. And,
I mean, the water's not great though either. That's something that we see.
Yeah.
The water is very bad, right?
Yeah.
But despite the fact that the water is very bad, Winslow is very determined not to start drinking booze, which might make somebody else suspect that there might be a really good reason why he might know something about himself, and he might have a good reason not to want to drink. But obviously, the old salty lighthouse keeper is not the sort of person who is going to think that way.
No. I love
he
that.
He knows he's a sloppy drunk. He's self-aware. Like, kudos to him.
He's got some self-awareness. He's got
Yeah.
other awareness issues, but some
Yeah.
self-awareness. No, he's also afraid that Tom is going to write it down in the log and have it, docked from his pay, which he loves to say all the time. But we also don't really know what's going in there, and that gets locked into that really beautiful vintage writing desk. We see it floating later, and it turns out, he hasn't been so kind as he said. But Tom is like, come on, you got to drink. This is our time to have fun. We got to work in the day. We got to have fun at night. Got to keep you from going crazy.
Yeah.
Have some
So Winslow is not having any gin, so he's just drinking the awful well water. But in this particular case, some blood comes out, and he's even willing to run with that. I was like, oh, got some blood in this. All right, keep pumping until we get the no blood water, and it's all blood. So he goes out to see what's going on, and there is a dead gull that is bloodying up the well. And while he's trying to deal with that, another gull comes. There's this extremely disturbing bird murder scene that Ryan was talking about earlier. And that is when everything goes to shit, because it is bad luck. Hillisy.
Yeah, I mean, if the goal would have just shit on his head, that would have been good. It would actually been like a nice romantic comedy. But
you would have loved the next day. Everything would be great.
Yeah,
according to the rules written by the seagulls, yes.
Yes.
I think Wake was controlling the seagulls all along.
So as that night, when that night, I believe Thomas Wake finally successfully gets him to start drinking, and he continues drinking with worse and worse results for the entire remainder of the movie.
Yeah.
And
he knew. He's like, I'm a sloppy drunk. Once I start, I'm not going to stop.
He knows he can't put it down either. He starts drinking all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have stayed abstinent. I think he was right.
Yeah, no, I think he should have stuck. Yeah, my big takeaways from this movie are he should have stuck with his teetotaling, and even if he hadn't done that, he should have told Thomas that he liked his lobster. But,
I mean, that's the key part.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a strong moral lesson too about not living with your boss.
Yeah.
That's sort of a practical lesson.
Yeah. Because this is how a lot of like au-pair jobs end up too.
Oh, sure.
That's terrible.
No, don't live with your boss. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And don't let them operate the pulley when you're trying to whitewash the White House. The White House. The Lighthouse.
Ooh, Freudian.
Mm-hmm.
Very appropriate for this movie. I like it. So they the wind's changed, and there's a terrible storm. They're getting drunk, and they have so the storm. There's an issue because the storm has spoiled their rations, and new ones aren't going to be arriving for weeks. They unearth a crate at the lighthouse's base that supposedly contains reserve rations, but contains only bottles of gin.
Oops. That's interesting foresight. Yeah, what do you really want? Like some jerky, some flour, or just a ton of gin?
Yeah. Even survive for weeks without food. Without gin?
Exactly.
Gin is it's got calories. It's sustenance. It keeps you alive for a while.
It's a medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Davy Jones' chest had in it, baby.
Navel gin, delicious.
And then I think this is when we get the really amazing sequence when it's like basically like as they're kept inside by the storm and all they have to keep themselves alive is gin, then that's when basically it gets to be the point where it's Homer, Mr. Burns, snowed in together. What's the where Homer's Mr. Burns says, look at him, they're sitting there sending paranoid thoughts into my head.
Man, I love it. Like Robert Eggers' mind is poisoned by all of these myths, and with Ben Burgis, it's The Simpsons.
I don't know what's better, like the collective unconscious of Young or just some Simpsons. I think Ben might have got off easy this one.
Matt Groening is the Homer of this century. So
yeah. There you go. Really the last century. By 2000 it was going downhill, but yeah.
So is Homer too. Let's be honest. We only remember the first two. We don't think about.
Yeah. There are like 7 more epic poems that weren't passed on for long enough.
A tale of two Homers.
I don't know. Do they have a Simpsons episode about Prometheus or Proteus or Icarus?
Probably at this point.
It
has to be at this point.
By this point.
Yeah. I mean, probably in the 30 seasons I haven't watched, there's one of those, but it is essentially that sequence. So among many other things, they sort of alternate between having fist fights and slow dancing, and
that's like one of the funniest cuts I've ever seen.
Oh God.
I love the Irish stance. It's so good too. That's really funny.
Which is the only way you can react when you've been slow dancing with your boss and then you almost kiss him. What are you going to do? You've got to do the Irish fighting stance. Wait, I'm not gay. Come on, I'm not gay. Hold on.
But then they end up cuddling. So sweet.
Yeah.
Jordan, what did the stage directions say for that part?
Oh, I didn't get to that area, but I did read and see a little bit of information that that we're meant to think that Tommy, I'm just going to skip to calling him that, Ephraim Winslow, has some latent, shameful, homoerotic tendencies that he's very afraid of, because he asked earlier, do you feel ashamed when you lie with a woman? And he kind of spent a little too long maybe peeping on his boss, getting it on with a pillow or his mattress or whatever it is. So he might have liked it and kind of reacted in that way, like, don't kiss me, bro. But he wanted it deep down inside.
Yeah.
Then he did a really manly, lumberjack jig as well, which I enjoyed. Many Michael Flatley spins. He just needed to end with one of those.
Yeah. And in the course of all of this, he, I might get in the timing slightly messed up here, but but as part of this whole sequence, 2 big things happen. One is that Winslow admits that his real name is Dick Whitman, and that he
not just since he's built other things.
Yeah, I know. Come on, I've got layers, not just there, but yeah, he does. He says at this point, and God knows, right? I mean, it's I think supposed to be deeply unclear whether anything that anybody says in this movie, or anything possibly that the one person in this movie says, is supposed to be taken very seriously. But he says actually he's not Winslow, and I like the way that this little part of the scene starts, because Thomas has his head rested on him, and he's
I trust you. So sweet.
and Winslow started to say, "I'm Thomas." It's like, "Oh, no, I'm Thomas," which seems like things have gotten to, they're veering into really interesting territory here. They've forgotten which one of them is which, but it turns out that's not it. He's not admitted to. He's not saying that he's Thomas Wake. He's saying he's Tommy Howard, and Winslow is this guy. He had some convoluted story about wanting to kill, and then he actually died. And I'm not totally sure I can reconstruct what exactly the story was supposed to be.
It seems that there was some kind of accident where he could have saved the guy, but chose not to. That's what I got out of it. But so not quite murdered him, but stood by and watched him die.
If you want your second to save you in a log jam, just don't call him dog. I think that's the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
But no.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got sucked under in a log jam. And Tommy's just like, yeah, we'll wait and see how this plays out. And then he's like, could really go for a smoke.
Yeah.
Sudden relief.
He was actually just trying to quiet quit, so he didn't want to lend an extra hand.
Are you being paid for this? No. All right. Keep on going.
It's above my pay grade, saving your
this
life.
is not in my job description.
I didn't get the CPR training. I'm really sorry. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually kept thinking about, this movie is kind of a December song, but I think the chat is right. It's really actually much more of a Pogue song.
December works. That's
I could see it as a December song too, though. That there's definitely a song there.
Yeah. Thomas Wake tries to stop Tommy/Winslow from spilling his beans about his backstory. He can tell that there's something bad there to be spilled, but he doesn't want it. But then he does, and this is, I remember, a moment that was in the previous movie quite a bit. You spilled your beans. Why did you spill your beans? So that's one big thing that's happened, that Thomas Wake has found out. What old Thomas possibly has found out what young Thomas did. And then then the other thing that's important that happens during all of this is that Tommy Winslow starts drunkenly complaining about the food that Thomas has been making them every night. And Thomas is like really badly wounded by this. And he keeps saying, like, but you're fond of a lobster, right? Like, you're fond of a lobster.
You're fond of a lobster, lad.
Yeah. I've seen it. You liked it. Very similar to the rant. One time I wasn't appreciative enough when Ben made me burritos, and he's like, Ben's like, I've seen it. You liked it. Tell me you liked it.
Hark! And you call on Trident.
Oh my God, that whole speech that I wish I had memorized. That's so intense.
It's so good. It's so good.
Hark, Trident. Da, 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 da.
Yep, he's basically just condemning him to explode into sea foam, and it's pretty cute. But he's so worked up about it too. His hand is all shaking, and he's standing there, and it's just like half Shakespearean. You have to wonder where he gets all of his dialogue from, like what kind of strange seafaring ways he had beforehand, if he really was a sailor like he claims to be, or he's just like really well studied to make it convincing.
Yeah, I mean, he's beautiful. He's obsessed with sailor stuff, and some versions of it, like we do get a couple different versions of his backstory, so who knows? But like he makes a big deal of having claimed to be a sailor. But yeah, I found the speech. It's hark, Trident, hark. Bellow, bold, bellow, bid our father, the sea king, rise from the depths. Full foul in his fury, black waves teeming with salt foam to smother this young mouth with pungent slime, to choke ye, engorging your organs till ye turn blue and bloated with bilge and brine and can scream no more. Only when he, crowned in cockle shells with slithering tentacle tails, and steaming beer take up his fell, befinned arm. His coraltine trident screeches banshee-like in the tempest and plunges right through your gullet, bursting ye a bulging bladder no more, but a bastard bloody film now, and nothing for the harpies and the souls of the dead sailors to peck and claw and feed upon, only to be lapped up and swallowed by the infinite waters of the dread emperor himself, forgotten to any man to any time, forgotten to any god or devil, forgotten even to the sea, for any stuff for part of Winslow, even any scantling of your soul is Winslow no more, but is now itself the sea.
I mean, let's be real. This movie is like the defining New England man movie. Like Thomas Wake is like, oh, he's too into lobster. He gets really mad at that. He's way too into sailing, despite who knows if he has anything to do with it.
Yeah. Eggers is apparently from New Hampshire.
Makes
So
sense.
he
Oh,
really
there you go.
feels the New Englandness in his soul as well, although I guess not so much the coastal aspect. But no, it is incredible. I guess if Ben just read that and it ends with calling him Winslow, then this is a little bit before the spillage of the beans, which is also something that I was really fascinated to find is a pretty old idiom. It sounds very
Really?
like 1990s, like cool beans, but apparently it's an old one. That is a great monologue. Probably one of my favorite deliveries of any film in the last
Yeah,
decade.
it's so good.
And seconded only by the being buried alive speech that he gives
So
as
good.
well, which is just fantastic.
It's so
I,
good.
I think that considering how like low energy and lame Trump was during his campaign speech, he should bring that kind of speech against DeSantis. Like if he said that shit, oh man,
just word for word, just
yeah.
spit that out. Add DeSantis on the debate stage. God, that'd be great.
Like how Obama had the translator, we can get like Willem Dafoe to stand by Trump and just deliver like wonderful Shakespearean insults.
Yeah. We
Good idea.
could get more of like literal dark Trump where he's wearing like an eye patch and he talks like a pirate. Oh man.
Full pirate theme. Yeah, absolutely.
But mixed with like, people say I'm the greatest pirate, huge pirate. Love that. Absolutely.
He's
Yes.
got a gull in his shoulder just pecking his shoulder.
Picking out his eye. Yeah, I like that.
It's pretty metal.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
so in so the bead spilling, you're right, that must happen afterwards, and then afterwards, as things continue to descend into complete insanity, even though conditions are still very, it's still raining very hard and things are very choppy. He tries, Tommy / Winslow tries very hard to go out to their little boat, so he can just desert the place and escape. And old Thomas chases him down with an axe and starts smashing up the boat.
Don't leave me here. I love that. It's so earnest. Smash up the dinghy lifeboat. Hey.
Yep, smashes up the lifeboat, chases him with the axe back inside the lighthouse, at which point he immediately starts gaslighting him about how he was the one who smashed up the lifeboat and chased him with an axe. And really, while we're at it, you should probably give me that knife. It's not safe for you to have it. And
He's a good manager. Yeah, I appreciate that.
By the way, gaslight would probably be an anachronism. It would probably have to do something with whale blubber.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know about that, but I like it anyway, even if it's a reach. No, I love that scene as well, where he's like, that's government property, breaks it from your wages. Like, just blame everything on him constantly. You made me do this. It's very abusive.
Although I will say, go back to the speculation earlier that if you do if you do want to say that that one of the Tommies or the other is the other's Tyler Durden, this is the fact that the memory of of chasing, being chased down and being told that he chased him down and all that stuff, does kind of fit.
Maybe he really did. Maybe we're not supposed to believe what we saw. Or maybe Tom Wake is just really smart manipulator and is like, the only way that I'm going to calm the situation down is to confuse the shit out of him till he sits and wants a cigarette. He's like, situation diffused. He's like, what did he say? Maybe I'm a figment of your imagination and you're just knee deep in snow, You're the gangrenous one now, little Tommy. Deal with
Classic schoolyard insult. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think though about, like, we're talking about obviously some of the amazing monologues, but I kind of feel like Pattinson's acting is kind of like a roller coaster ride, because he delivers this kind of passionate monologue, and I don't know, man. It wasn't an A+ for me.
I mean, it's hard to go against Willem Dafoe. I mean, this is the thing. I think Pattinson is pretty great, and like, if his performance had been alongside any other actor, we'd be like, yeah, that was great. But
yeah,
you're up against Willem Dafoe. I mean, it's just hard to compare.
I also have that line like stuck in my head where it's like, "You goddamn farts! You farts!"
Yes.
Yeah, his accent especially was very roller coaster.
Yeah, his accent was very roller coaster. Yes, absolutely.
Before I knew that this was set in New England, probably the first time that I saw it, I was like, is he like a disturbed Kennedy? Like, where is he getting this voice from? It's not very clear, especially with Dafoe being like ultra transatlantic, seafaring type. But I don't know, that's part of the tension between the two of them, because apparently Pattinson is more into just seeing what comes, surprising himself, which is a strange thing to even say. And that's why I think he actually did the best in those really, really drunk scenes. It makes more sense there than anywhere else. And Dafoe is a classic theatrical actor. So he really, really, really wants to get it down pat and understand exactly how he's going to deliver. And that works well with Eggers, because Eggers came from theater as well. So all of the scenes that are blocked with Dafoe in his deliveries are so perfect and beautiful and so full of detail, and he's shaking and he's got like these crazy looks, whereas Pattinson certainly seems a little bit all over the place. And you can imagine that it took quite a few more takes for him to get to that.
He probably just
should say supposedly the curse scene was shot in one take, and I saw something that said that what was seeing William Dafoe's character gives the sea curse around Robert Pattinson's character because he doesn't like his cooked lobster was shot in one take. According to Robert Eggers, Dafoe did not blink for 2 minutes straight while he was doing it.
Yeah, he does not blink in that.
No,
I wonder how many times it took to shoot the scene where Tommy is throwing the chamber pots over the side and gets just shit back in his face. That was super relatable. Like, not that it's ever happened to me, but he's like, moment. You wonder what they put in those pots.
Fair enough.
To me, I was wondering if Pattinson got his accent. Like he ended up just like hanging out with Ben Affleck for a week, and then just trying to like get like a Boston accent. Like
it was very in parts, especially about the farts. Yeah, it was very Good Will Hunting kind of.
Yeah.
Exactly, the fats. What about them?
You like this mermaid? How do you like these mermaids?
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, that whole scene when he's cursing Dafoe is hilarious. And what did he say? I mean, he just kept throwing insults at him. You smell like piss. You smell like a shit house and jism and all of these things together. And you're like, whoa. Well, you've been holding that in. What everyone would like to say to their boss before they quit. That's not quiet quitting. That's very
That's
loud.
loud quitting.
Yeah.
That's loud not quitting. So
Yeah, that's loud staying. That's the opposite of quiet quitting.
That's after you've read the reports where you're like, I've been so complacent and compliant, and you still say that I'm habitually self-abusing in the shed. Why would you tell everyone that? That was just between us. I know what you do up there. Come on. No respect.
So with no alcohol left, the two begin to drinking a concoction of turpentine and honey while the storm worsens and starts flooding the cottage. The next morning, Howard / Winslow finds Wake's spoiled logbook, in which Wake has criticized him as drunk and incompetent and recommended that he should be sacked without pay. Two men argue, and Winslow attacks Wake while hallucinating the mermaid and hallucinating the real Winslow, and Wake as a Proteus-like figure. I don't know anything about Proteus, but I assume Jordan can fill us in.
A touch. Proteus, he comes from the sea. He's kind of equated with the sea. He's a teller of truths, an oracle of sorts, kind of can tell the future, but he changes his shape, ship-shifting, trickster type. So the fact that he looks like the mermaid to some degree is supposed to equate us with that weird, what is Tommy thinking? But it's also maybe his real form. Maybe he is Neptune's little foot soldier. And every time that he says, you shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't have done that, he really, really knows what's going to happen. And this is like his truest form. So that's what I know about Proteus.
Learn about
I have
Proteus.
I have another theory that maybe with the mermaid, it's like this is a story about Starbucks and Howard Schultz and workers going on strike.
Yeah, I like it. Please.
I'm going to need you to connect the dots there a little bit more for me. I'm not quite.
Mermaid, hang out with your boss, workplace conflicts. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Ingredients are there. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's greatness in it. That's just the full version of the tank. It's going to be amazing. So they and after Thomas Wake has screamed at him for long enough that he's a dog.
He doesn't like that.
No.
He should have. Look, every character has lesson learned at the end of this. Winslow should have said he liked the lobster, and Wake should have left the dog thing alone because he already has reason to believe that's not going to go well.
He should have switched from lad to lassie. Oh wait, that is anachronistic too. Oh well. Yeah. Don't call him a dog, or you're gonna get the leash at the end.
Yeah, exactly. As the saying goes, don't call somebody a dog, or you get the leash. So, so then Winslow / Tommy beats old Thomas into submission until he starts barking like a dog for him. And then he puts him on a leash and leads him out to a hole in the ground where he starts burying him alive, and Thomas, I think, as the last ditch attempt to save himself, says something about don't you want to see the light? Haven't you wondered about that?
He's like, yeah, I'll just get the keys off of you. Come on. What do you think?
You lost all your power, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're really going to try that now? But he's so deluded and just so full of hubris that he couldn't help it. It actually reminded me a bit of the final scene with the father in The Witch when he gets bored by the goat. Like,
that makes sense.
Didn't keep your mouth shut, could you? could have saved
Totally.
yourself or your
And in
family.
terms of connections across movies, I mean, this is like such a surface level thing, but it really struck me this weekend going like, oh, wow, Willem Dafoe loves barking like a dog in Robert Eggers movies. That's
Yeah, that's true. And
Right.
and farting, apparently. And Eggers likes the name Thomason. He just
Right.
can't
Mhm.
think of
Yeah.
other iterations, I guess. Oh well.
Yeah, and right, obviously in the Northmen, there's like a lot of stuff there about being wolves, being dogs,
Mhm.
drinking from bowls like dogs. So yeah, I mean that's that.
They should have also brought in Anna Taylor-Joy to be the mermaid, though. That would have,
The full
Squared the circle.
Eggers verse, yeah.
yeah.
That's really funny. That's a good idea. I think that the actress that they had play the mermaid was some Russian actress, apparently, because when she came to the island where they filmed off of Nova Scotia, she saw the existing lighthouse, not the one that they filmed with, because they built their own lighthouse for this film. But she saw the old one, which was some sort of mid-century modern style, and said, "What is this Soviet bullshit?" Which is adorable. Actually, I feel very Russian now saying it in an accent with this stripy shirt. But yeah, she wasn't impressed with the original, and they had to make something as tall as they could. But this is exactly how it was envisioned and written into the script as well. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder how they cast her, or what the casting process was for the actress who would go on to play the mermaid. They're like, can we hear you shriek, please? Can you just laugh in a humiliating way that would make any man's shrivel? Oh, Kitty, look.
Oh yeah.
Ryan's cat. Yours
Yeah.
is quiet. That's so nice.
And right now she is. Yeah, she's very talkative, but
Yeah,
at
but
the
kind of
moment,
sinister
she's-
in that light.
Yeah, that's right. Just looking back over her shoulder at you in the red light.
What's that a metaphor for?
Yeah. It's Ryan's familiar.
I think that's Jeff Bezos, right?
So Wake, does not save himself because obviously he's not in a position to. That Tommy can just take the keys, which he does, but then they have. But he does get in another little curse before he goes, when there's some dirt in his mouth and and all that stuff, and then the Promethean fate is what he says at that point. But they, and we should say he does hang on for a little while longer. He since Tommy never actually finishes burying him, and so Thomas chases him down, and then he kills him again. It's not as bad as the bird, but it's but it is fairly graphic. You see that like the axe comes down, there's like the big spurt of like forehead blood.
Tom gets him in
So
the
you
shoulder.
work married an axe murderer.
You had to do it.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Should have gone for the skull. Shoulder's not going to do that much damage. Anyone can tell you that. But oh well. Lesson learned. I think he was just playing dead. It was another little manipulation where he's like, all right, if he keeps covering me with dirt and I just kind of like keel over, then he'll leave me alone for a second and I can come and plot my revenge. But yeah, it didn't work out, which is a pity for everyone involved.
Yeah, very much so. And we should also say that the chronology is all messed up, as it should be when you're watching when you're watching The Lighthouse. You shouldn't remember when anything happened or how long ago it was, but there are earlier scenes with the mermaids. He'll, like, when they get crazy, he'll wake up, and then there's the one to the end later in the movie, the mermaid scene happens, and he doesn't wake up. He just runs back in and starts interacting with Thomas, and things just keep rolling on from there. So either there is a mermaid in there, or he's gotten really, really insane at this point in the movie, which is consistent with everything else that happens. But after he kills Thomas, he goes up to the light, and he stares at it, and it's and he has some kind of mystical experience, and then the result of this is that he falls down the stairs, and everything happens pretty much like seems to be right on schedule for playing out like Thomas's curse. His gullet's being picked by seabirds and all that stuff.
He does get shed on there, but it's too late for good luck at that point. Because he's
it's good luck for the other seagulls now.
Yeah.
Again,
Disemboweled.
seagulls are writing these rules. They're arbitrary. We shouldn't read too much into them.
I wonder
Poop on me once, shame on you.
Exactly. This is the other type of shitting on you. Yeah. It wasn't on his head. That's
that makes
on
sense.
his
Yeah.
head. But you gotta wonder, so you have this whole Icarus flying too close to the sun, his wings melt, he falls down to the sea. Then you have Prometheus, letting the fire onto man, and then paying for it by having his liver picked out by an eagle. Although, judging by the looks of things, it was more like lower intestine. Not really sure. But you gotta wonder if he moved himself out there to try to get help from passing, sailboats, whatever is supposed to be going by there, or just the seagulls compelled him to meet his
They
fate.
just dragged him out.
Yeah. Or the sirens were calling to him.
Mm.
It's unclear.
Yeah.
Nothing is very clear about this film, but that's what makes it so good. The filming is clear and the cinematography. But narrative-wise, God knows what the hell's going on there.
Yeah, like there's something we completely skipped over pretty early in the movie where when he's spying on Thomas in the commuting with the light, where there's like some kind of like slithery Lovecraftian something or other that like slithers over him, and it takes like 3 seconds, but it's like, oh, okay, what was that about?
Yeah.
Yep. Some tentacle porn.
Very unclear. And that's before he's drinking or anything. He's just
Something for the Japanese viewers to relate to if they didn't get all of the Greek mythology. I don't know. But he mentioned too that his former foreman thought not only that the light had some mystical quality, but there was some sort of beast. Like David said, that is there one, isn't there? Is something going to come off of the shoreline or whatever? But clearly this light has some sort of strange quality. The lighthouse opened, the light itself, the lantern opened itself up to him. And I really love also that when, he sees it, he's overcome and he starts laughing, and his laugh gets so distorted that he almost sounds like the foghorn itself. Like, what is this foghorn? Maybe it's like the trapped souls of men who have come too close to the light. But very cool imagery and sound. The sound editing in this film is really, really, really good. Probably my favorite of all of the Eggers films as well. The sound.
One thing I read in an interview with Eggers, which was fun, is people wanted to know what was in, the Lighthouse light, what Pattinson was seeing, and he said he couldn't show it because it would be like The Ring and it would drive viewers insane. I thought that was kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Eggers still hasn't seen the light. He's still.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same light that's in the briefcase.
And Pulp Fiction. Totally.
Yes, it was the same light as the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. We happy here? Oh yeah, we happy.
Eggers, yes, he's actually in the Tarantino universe. Little known fact. I know there was a gimp wandering around the island too somewhere, just in the
One
Yeah,
thing
Nova Scotia. Oh yeah, they got the same thing. They got lobster, but they don't call it that. No.
That's
Right.
Exactly.
The lobster.
One thing I appreciate about this movie is it seemed like it was like the gritty reboot for The Mermaid, because a lot of mermaid movies are very like romantic and soft, and this was like hardcore mermaid. You know, this was not a mermaid to fuck with.
No.
Did you see that movie, The Lure? I think it's called. This Polish movie from 2017. It's if you're looking for a gritty mermaid movie, this is too gritty, maybe. But
too gritty. What?
Too gritty. We've gone too full mermaid grit.
Is that when you said The Mermaid? You mean Mermaid like the Tom Hanks film?
See that's a Splash. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, this is just basically Splash. Yeah.
I actually
Robert Pattinson is the Tom Hanks character. You know. Willem Dafoe's like the John Candy, the wacky comic relief on the side. You know. It's,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
somewhere.
Did go through some transformations, so maybe at one point that was the idea. Apparently, the original idea of the Lighthouse is first articulated at dinner between Robert Eggers and his younger brother Max Eggers, and Robert was unhappy with his film industry prospects after pitching his first feature, The Vivitch, and failing to secure funding. Max shared a basic outline for his screenplay, a lighthouse set ghost tale, as part of an attempted reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's unfinished short story, The Lighthouse. Adapted. By the way, I fucking love the idea that it's like, I couldn't find any takers for The Witch. It was too weird. What should I try instead?
Sure.
Yeah.
A reboot of Splash.
Totally incomprehensible. Something for psychoanalysts of the future to ponder over. Yeah. He's like, we don't need that much of a budget. I just need to build some stuff. 2 actors, basically. That's all. It's not that hard to buy 35 millimeter film these days. Vintage lenses, get them on eBay. I don't know. This is like low budget comparatively. I mean, look at The Northman. That's totally different.
In retrospect, he made the anti-woke Little Mermaid. Because
could be anti-woke Little Mermaid. He's like,
because
do the Little Mermaid the way the Grimm brothers would have wanted it.
Well, okay, true, but I'm saying it's just about 2 white guys who, you know, the mermaid is just a sex object to them.
That's right.
But it's mostly just about 2 white guys at work. So
if they diversified, the things also would have ended differently. A woman would never, she'd be like, you know what? That light is fucked. We're not going up there. Just let that guy do his thing. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. No, there would be at least 2 mermaids that have conversations not about men so they could pass the Bechdel test. Like, this totally fails. Totally fails.
Would it be, so if they just screamed at each other without saying any words, would that count?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Jordan, what would your life be like, in an 1890s lighthouse?
I would have been the one making the lobster, I assume. It would have been slightly different.
Do you like a good lobster boil?
Who doesn't? Come on. It's not kosher, but that's never stopped me. Speaking of which, do we think he saw the head in the lobster trap, or that was another hallucination?
Who knows?
Wasn't it possibly the guy that the guy that was murdered by what's his face?
Or just died accidentally.
Yeah. Who was in the logbook?
It was in the logbook.
Yeah, the previous maybe the previous wiki, yeah.
The previous wiki, yeah.
Or
that's actually what I thought.
Killed, transformed back into a sailor, and that was that. Who knows?
Yeah, I like that. I will say my assumption when I was watching it earlier was that it was the previous wiki, for whatever that's
what we're supposed to think.
I like this. One story that caught the director's attention as initial research was a 19th century myth of an incident at Small's Lighthouse in Wales.
I read about that.
Wherein one of 2 wikis, both named Thomas, dies while trapped at their outpost by a destructive storm.
Yeah, one of them I remember reading about this in Pembrokeshire off the coast of Wales. There was a really distant lighthouse. You had two Thomases. They did not get along, but it's really difficult to tell what really happened. Some massive storm just totally blew apart their living quarters, and I'm sure it looked a bit like the insides after the big storm that these ones survived, but one of them just didn't make it. And apparently, so as not to be framed with his murder because of their lack of, camaraderie, the surviving Thomas built him a coffin to give him sort of a nice little respectful funeral. But then that gets blown by the wind as well, and his arm is just flapping outside of the coffin, and passing sailors see it, but they're like, there's just some guy waving at us. They don't really understand what's going on.
What a friendly lighthouse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hi. But it just becomes this like sort of haunted house story, and that apparently is meant to be a bit of the inspiration for this one as well, which is pretty creepy. Yeah. What do you do with the rotting body of your coworker? You're like, we just got to make this look like I had nothing to do with it. Love the guy. He was great. Real pity. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Can someone save me?
And I don't know if you saw the rest of the story about how they decided afterwards that regulations were changed so that there had to be 3 people at the lighthouse instead of 2.
Clever.
Seems smart.
Yeah,
for sure.
Three's Company in the lighthouse.
Three's Company in the lighthouse. That guy that like he just gets paid off to tell whatever truth makes the most sense to the survivor. If you threw a third member in this lighthouse, other than the mermaid, I wonder how that.
The mermaid, yeah.
That's interesting as well.
Yeah,
They just had like a spy somewhere on the island keeping an eye on them. Like, this is so typical. Not another one of these.
No, but that's how you create jobs. Is you need another supervisor.
That's how you get the PMC
jobs program. Yeah,
exactly.
Gotcha.
To make sure that everyone working here doesn't go insane, I got to watch everybody from now on.
If there was a third guy who would have called bullshit on all of Tom's stories, he's like, stop lying. Like, that's not what happened. You gave yourself that chest tattoo. You never got near a boat. You got that limp when you were born. You've never had a wife. Let's see through all of your BS.
Yeah.
Your beard is cool though.
Your beard is cool though. That's where most of your authority and respect comes from.
Yeah.
That makes Ryan or Ben the lighthouse manager here. But since it's Ben's podcast.
Well, Ben is kind of the manager here.
Yeah. You've got your own little lighthouse behind you there, which is so nice. It's so great that you found a place off the coast on your way home.
Yeah, it's a little more gentle. But we've kept storms at a minimum back here.
Well, smart.
Not killing any seabirds.
And we have women in POCs on campus. So
it's 2022.
Yeah.
You gotta avoid getting sued in the very least. So
you don't want to be canceled on this island. You
get voted off the island.
Woke moralists.
You saw that when Peterson was had his Twitter account restored. He posted that clip. We'll see who can up yours, woke moralist. We'll see.
It's amazing.
So it's just a fascinating decision that he wanted that. Like he likes that clip.
Can you imagine if Jordan Peterson was the lighthouse keeper? Like I kind of feel like he has been in the last 5 years. He has kind of slowly gone insane, and he's from Canada, so he probably has been stashed away in a lighthouse for most of the last 5 years.
Yeah. I bet he's watched at least one guy get swallowed up by logs and did nothing.
That much has got to be true.
Everybody in his part of Canada has had that experience.
Yeah,
it's a rite of passage, honestly.
They just don't make it a big deal.
He tried to bury an axe into Alex Jones.
It was in the shoulder, so it didn't do anything, and whatever.
Yeah.
Drank some turpentine together after, and it was fine.
Yeah,
that's why Alex Jones takes all the supplements, because he can take axes to the shoulder.
It doesn't hurt. There's a flash.
Yeah.
No, that would be awesome. Now I'm just imagining like a new Lighthouse with Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. Young and old. That would be so cool.
And the mermaid is Abby Shapiro.
Oh my god. Singing opera instead, like taking it. Yeah. I think we got something here.
Honestly, I think
woke moralists.
I think that the Peterson Shapiro Lighthouse works really well because, like, you imagine, Shapiro has come in. He obviously Peterson would want to get drunk with him, and obviously Shapiro would not be willing to do that.
It's not the rules.
Peterson thinks he has a pretty face.
What's that?
Peterson thinks he has a pretty face.
That's right. Yeah.
He wants him to dance.
Someone needs to make this deep fake. So this would just be amazing.
Someone in the chat certainly has those skills.
Someone in the chat, get on this.
Thomas Wake and Jordan Peterson are both very into lore and mythology.
That's true.
I tried to get comment from Jordan Peterson from one Jordan to another, I was like, can you please comment?
Who's the real Jordan?
I need a hot take. The Jungian collective unconscious and archetypes as present in Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. But I don't know. I tagged GTAA, and that might have been, the nail in the coffin. Where he's not going there.
I mean, he once called Ben the best of the left.
He did.
Literally.
He did.
Yeah.
And there was he did. He was responding to. He might or might not have read the review. I'm 100% sure he didn't read the book. I think there's a good chance that he only read the tweet of a review, but he had he tweeted out or quote tweeted the Quillette review of Canceling Comedians and said something like only the best of the left could save us from the worst of the left. And so again, I take it he hasn't read the book because there's stuff about him in it. But in response, I said, okay, so if I am the best of the left, then you should definitely be willing to talk to me, right? Let's set this up. Let's make this happen. And that led exactly where you think it would. But
silence. Can you condense it into Communist Manifesto length and then send it back to him with little footnotes? This should be enough for you.
Yeah.
Back in time when he read Communist Manifesto when he was a teenager, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, he said he did reread it before Zizek, so maybe. He did. He definitely had some sentences from it in his opening statement, so it's possible.
Yeah, goddamn tweets. Yeah, goddamn tweets.
Exactly. So I'm curious actually. Before we wrap up, I've got a couple of the people on the screen. I have already gotten this from because we talked about this a little bit after the Northman, but I am curious for everybody and whether Ryan and Jordan would revise what they said before after rewatching, or just what everybody thinks now, about your rankings of the Eggers movies. Start with Ryan Lake.
So I have to confess I've not seen The Northman yet. So I can't rank that one. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough for me to rank these two. They're just both so spectacular. I think I would put The Witch slightly above. But yeah, it's really tough.
I think that sort of makes sense for you since if nothing else, the Witch has some really intense, crazy dialogue about free will. So
it does, yes. I'm big on all the Calvinist stuff. It's fantastic. The baby gazpacho, that was lacking in the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
There was no baby gazpacho in the Lighthouse. There was yeah.
I don't know if there was any in the Northman. I'll have to watch that and find out. But
yeah, but, that was the best. I mean, for my mind, that was actually, was not the baby gazpacho, was not any of the over-the-top violent things happen. Creepiest part of The Witch was the conversation about whether is my dead baby brother in hell? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Am I going to hell? I don't know. Do I look like God? I don't get to decide these things. Like,
He's like, God is
if I
here.
die tomorrow, I'm going to go to hell. Look, son, I love you marvelous well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Ryan number 1. Ryan number 2.
I mean, I think that between
You have the correct ranking for the Ryans there. Ryan 1, Ryan 2. That's good.
Well, I'm just going alphabetical order.
please.
Partial.
Between The Witch and the Lighthouse, it's really boils down to
And The
like
Northman.
which. Well, I'm taking these 2 movies in particular because I feel like it's about what animal you think is most evil, a seagull or a goat, and
Don't forget the
I
hare.
think
Yeah, I mean the hair is scary.
true.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel like goats are the most evil. So I would go with The Witch. No, I personally like. I'm big, I grew up evangelical, Christian, fundamentalist. And so that aspect of The Witch really sang to me. And this movie, like the film school part of me really appreciates it. But at the same time, like, I mean, all of Eggers' movies has like a base level of unpleasantness, like, the dirt, the grime, the bad food, the farting, all that stuff. But yeah, with The Lighthouse, it's just a little too intense to me, or maybe I don't know, feels a little too much like college. It's a good movie, but I still have The Witch and Northman 1 and 2.
Okay. All right. Jordan.
Well, I think in my last ranking, I'll stick with my last ranking, which was this number 1, The Witch number 2, and Northman 3rd. Although I do love it dearly for all of the reasons that I rambled on about last time. It touches on my interests. But insane cinematography here. I am rather fond of black and white generally. This gets a very, very beautiful old school vibe. And it's the most atmospheric of all 3. I think Eggers is incredibly talented at creating a certain feeling and that he drops you right into, and you never get out of it until the very end of the film. Even the credits have an ancient sort of sea shanty song. You can just tell the level of pedantic research that goes into these things. And I really picked up on that when I was reading parts of the transcript as well. Everything that gets whistled or hummed, every little song is really, really just like a super old song or poem. You can really fall into rabbit holes here. I think that it's just like kind of perfect. I love the weird, masturbation shots when his mind is going from image to image to image. This is kind of the scariest and freakiest of the 3, despite not having much supernatural stuff going on. It's more just psychological. The isolation, the effects of that, and just not really knowing, are these people there at all? Are they one and the same? What kind of fate would they face if they hadn't gone to that island? And I don't know. I've always been taken with The Lighthouse, and watching it again and reading about it and reading it just sold me even further. The sound editing, I have to say here, is amazing too. There were parts of The Witch where it was like, oh, this music is interesting, and then it would go away for quite a while. But the foghorn, the constant effect throughout, it's just beautiful. Love this film.
Yeah.
Nice. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, that is tough. I mean, I really love Robert Eggers' films. All of them are so excellent. I remember like watching The Northman, and I spent most of the first hour going, this is maybe the best movie I've ever seen. And I'm just going, like, oh my God, this is insane. And it felt like, wow, this is an action movie, not about Vikings, but for Vikings. This is like designed just for that. And I have some story problems with it that kind of by the end sort of knocked it down. And I'm like, that has to be my 3rd favorite of them. But I still really liked it. I was still like, wow, what a great movie. And then I would say that The Witch is probably the better movie from a story point of view, and everything sort of structurally it all works in such a way, and like it really hits this mood that is really tonally really special. And I feel like The Witch really, really is. If I were like just completely, looking at it like from a rational point of view, like, okay, The Witch is like definitely the best movie. And how am I going to say no to The Lighthouse, though? The Lighthouse is like, it hits every single one of my interests way too hard. It is the most fun. It is insane.
Wait, what are your interests here?
Oh, let me go.
Seagulls, mermaids, masturbation.
Murdering my boss, alienating the flavor. I mean, but yeah, I mean, genuinely, as whatever. I finally read Moby Dick last year, and I'm finally like going to my full. Someday I'll go to the ocean, but no, I mean, my God, this movie is so much fun. It's so good. It's so.
It puts the dick in Moby Dick.
Truly.
Tommy says something too. He's like, "This Ahab. Enough with your Ahab bullshit." I love that. There's like a literary reference within the movie.
So good, and I love too that like this movie keeps on. It both says a lot and doesn't say anything. I mean, like all the thing about masculinity, all the thing you could definitely have like a good Marxist reading, but you also can't. I mean, it's just sort of this thing that is on its own. It's such a special, incredible movie. And I'm a little disappointed we haven't gone into just like my favorite scene, which is just the what?
Yes.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Oh, so good.
At the same time, yeah.
Oh my God, so perfect. Yeah, I mean, I would say, The Lighthouse is by far my favorite of them, even though, realistically, The Witch is probably better.
I wonder how much, because I like Ryan too. I also had an evangelical upbringing, so I wonder how much that, because it definitely resonated for me for that reason too. Like, could definitely feel it. A little bit of my own father in that. Yeah.
If I would have grown up in New England instead of like a fundamentalist Christian Midwest, I may have felt differently.
Yeah.
I like that this one isn't redemptive either. Like even at the end of the Vitch, Thomason becomes a Vitch, and she gets to join her coven, and she gets to side with the devil. And here it's just
she gets her butter.
Dies.
Maybe that says something about you, Jordan.
No. All
darkness.
Movies, they follow somebody who like becomes that title by the end. So it's the Witch at the end, the Northman at the end. He really finally is the Northman. He is the Lighthouse at the end of this movie.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, and we didn't even mention that little moment of insanity where you have Defoe naked with the light coming out of his face.
Oh yeah.
Robert, like looking up at Robert Patton said, Tommy looking up at him after discovering his own body at the top of the lighthouse. There's just so many levels of insanity here where you're just like, what was that? And it's so fast. I love it. You can't say enough about this film.
It's fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I do appreciate the fact that you get more on multiple viewings.
Yeah, so was looking at this Rolling Stone article. It looks like it was before The Lighthouse came out. It says the two eggers started trading drafts back and forth, reworking acts and revamping as they went along. Robert began tracking down as many pictures of New England circa the 1890s, as well as looking at everything from, quote, the Great Lighthouse Cinema coming out of France in the 1930s to symbolist paintings. He poured through the Lighthouse Keeper's Code of Conduct manual.
Wow.
That's so cool.
And became slightly obsessed with finding the perfect Fresnel lens, a spherical device specifically designed for lighthouses that resembles Neger's words, an Art Deco spaceship.
So cool.
Both threw themselves headfirst into the literature of the period with a heavy emphasis on texts about the sea and or the surreal. Coleridge, Melville's, Robert Louis Stevenson, H.P. Lovecraft's Weird Tales were a fertile source of material as well. Yes, there will be tentacles. Once they discovered the work of Sarah Orne Jewett.
I read a few of her short stories in preparation for this, and I have to say that nothing really like clicked perfectly, although you do capture a lot of the harsh like brutality of nature there, but nothing with like the humanity of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very similar. I mean, I guess the Ryans both grew up in evangelical households. So that influences why they put the witch on top. But obviously, since Dave and I grew up in a lighthouse off the coast of Maine, that's.
Are we still there? I don't know.
Always.
So I'm very similar. I love The Witch very much. That's like a top 10 horror movie for me, I think. But yeah, the Lighthouse is the one of the three that I was the most into, and The Witch is a relatively close second. And The Northman, yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before. I mean, I think you could have had literally. I mean, I think probably The Northman was a kind of a victim of having actually been given some money,
Right.
Unlike the others. But you could have taken the first hour and literally just the exact first hour, changed nothing, and then shrunk down everything after that to the sort of most essential half hour, and I probably would have put it as my number one. But as was it got The Northman. I don't know, the second half felt very Hollywood to me in a way that I wasn't crazy about. So that ends up being a relatively distant number three, even though, I'm absolutely going to watch The Northman again. That was amazing.
Y'all have made me very excited to watch The Northman.
You'll love it. There's no baby gazpacho, but there is
spoiler, come on.
meat and also murderous mushroom stew.
Okay.
An interesting menu.
All right. I'm in for psychotropic mead. Yeah, that sounds great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is it just turpentine and honey? Is that a psychotropic mead?
Honey, but also mushrooms, one assumes.
Okay. Turpentine, honey, and mushrooms. Gotcha. Yeah.
So one thing is interesting is that this is the most recent of Eggers' movies as far as it takes place in 1890. Does Eggers do anything in the future that takes place within the last 100 years?
Well, I know he's supposed to do Nosferatu at some point, so that would bring it another 30 years into the future, and
would it?
Yeah, 1920-ish.
Yeah.
Interesting. He cites that as his favorite, life-changing film as well. So I'm sure that he's just going to put absolutely everything that he has into it and make it incredibly theatrical. So let's hope. I see someone in a chat said that he should take on the Epic of Gilgamesh. If we're going to take it back way more ancient, that would be amazing. I agree. Although it's a little bit harder to do a period piece on Babylon, I suppose.
What would you guys pick as what era would you want to see Eggers take on?
The early Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
That would be badass.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I feel like Roman garrisons along the side of like Germany in the 4th century or like in Turkey.
God,
like
that would be good.
It would be so good.
Yeah. Give him, have him do a Marcus Aurelius thing. Like,
Yeah.
fighting the Germans. Like, that would be. That's just what I want now. Yep. The Eggers Marcus Aurelius movie.
The Gladiator by Robert Eggers.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. Yes. But forget Maximus or whatever. Let's just focus on Marcus Aurelius. That would be fighting the Germans. Would be amazing.
No, I mean you can imagine that. Yeah, actually, it'd be an amazing movie because you'd have some really intense scenes of fighting the Germans.
You'd have weird shit in the woods and
Roman gods, which are going on there.
Yeah.
But also, I'm pretty sure the Eggers version would include a lot of Marcus Aurelius talking about Stoic philosophy.
Yeah.
You have to imagine the moment of your death over and over again.
Yeah. God.
That would be cool. Just
this is my dream movie now. I'm emailing Eggers right away.
Excuse me, Mr. Eggers. We've had some ideas for your next film. I think that's a good idea.
Dear Robert Eggers.
And your brother, who is a very talented scriptwriter.
Of just the Grandpa Simpson banging away on his keyboard. Dear Robert Eggers.
There aren't enough movies about Marcus Aurelius in a dark Lovecraftian way.
I love it.
The Industrial Revolution is pretty cool. Like, there could be like a super gritty Dickens take. You know what I mean? Like it takes place in sort of like a Dickens universe, but it could be black and white. It could be like so dark and gritty. There's just shit everywhere. You know, it's so foggy with coal dust that you can barely see.
Starving orphans, the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, how about he just does A Christmas Carol? I just want to see the Eggers Christmas Carol.
God, that would be
That'd be
that would
Everyone's
be
got
so
to
good.
do a Christmas film eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eggers Canterbury Tales. Then Ryan would actually get the Middle English that he talked about when we discussed The Witch. Womp womp.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, well, Mr. Eggers, if you're watching, and I assume you are, please pick
Obviously.
one of those and work on it.
Start with Marcus Aurelius, then Christmas Carol, and then what else you want to do?
Yeah, that's fine. Then you pick third. You pick one.
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly. All right. Well,
Donald Trump's tweets.
Well, anybody have anything they want to plug before we exit for the day?
Should pale death with treble dread, guys. You know, the Ocean's cave our bed. God who hearest the surges roll, deign to save the suppliant soul.
Yeah, have a way with words.
Yar.
I'll cheers to that, and I'll also say this is kind of a difficult plug to actually like take in, but if you've ever seen Prometheus Bound, the painting in person, it's one of those things where a lot of times you see works of art in person and it's like, oh, I gotta see that. But there was something about seeing it in person. I was like, holy shit, that like it's in the Philadelphia Museum of Art, I believe. But it's really good.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. The third one's gonna have to be The Jungle. I don't know the rules. All right, fair enough. Well, we are going to be back tomorrow night. We have 2 episodes left before we're going to take a season break because I'm going to be traveling a bunch in December. So the one and in between, we'll probably do a couple of Patreon ones just to keep patrons feeling loved. If you are not one, by the way, patreon.com/Ben Burgis, $5 a month. Get the patron exclusive post games every Monday night, access to the Discord server, advance access to interviews we release later, and our love and gratitude for helping to keep this going. But the one on tomorrow is going to be Adnan Hussein talking about Jacobin's essay about historical inevitability and revolution, and before that, we are going to have R.M. Brown on for some much lower rent stuff. Going to dunk on some Ben Shapiro clips. So good buffet of content coming up. Check that out. Check out the links in the description for various people you see on screen. And we're going to cut it there for tonight. Left is best.